Hi, welcome to my channel Mostly Knitting. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're new here, I'm Tash, and this is a weekly podcast where I talk mostly about the knitting that I've been doing during the week, and I also put out regular tutorials. I usually start with my finished objects, and I actually do have a finished object this week, and it is the Oslo Hat with Mohair. Now I knit this using some KFS Opal Sock yarn that I got when I was in Japan, and some Rowan Kidsilk Haze silk mohair in the colorway Nectar, and that was leftovers from my Frills Sweater. So I just finished that last night, and it's blocked overnight. It's maybe a tiny little bit damp. I'll probably put it back on the bed to dry, but it is finished. I'm just going to show it up against my other one that I made recently with mohair that I still have. This is the one out of the Isia Highland wool and silk mohair, and you can see that they're about the same length. This one looks just a little bit thicker. I think this one, I'm sure this yarn, the KFS Opal Sock yarn, was a little bit thicker. A Highland wool, 50 grams, is about, I think, 250 meters, whereas with the KFS, it was 211 meters. So it's a tiny bit thicker, but I knit it to the point where I actually knew I was going to run out of yarn. Actually, I'll show you how much yarn I have left if I can find the little piece. Here it is. Oh gosh. Okay, where is it? I think that's it. That is, where is it? That's all the KFS Opal Sock yarn that I had left, because what I did, I knew I was going to run close to yarn because this one used 230 meters of fingering and I only had 211. So I cut out, I think maybe two or four rows in the brim of the hat, made it just a tiny little bit shorter, although it doesn't actually look much shorter. And it may have just blocked a little bit longer, and I cut out a couple of rows in here. What I ended up doing actually, to make sure I was going to have enough yarn, was I added up all of the stitches that were required for the decrease section. So I used 112, I did 112 stitches on a 3.25 millimeter needle. And what I was doing was weighing my yarn to work out, how much yarn was used each row. And when I added up all of the stitches in the decrease, so this will get a little bit mathy, but like most hat patterns, unless there's something sort of interesting going on in the crown, the decreases are usually 8 stitches every other round. You decrease 8 stitches every other round until you get to about 40 stitches, and then you decrease every round. And this, hat is a very standard sort of top with the decreases. So I added up those stitches. So after your first decrease, you have 104, and then you don't decrease. So it's 104 plus 104 plus 96 plus 96, etc. Adding all of that down to 40, and then you don't double it anymore. It's just 40, 32, 24, and you add all of those stitches together. I worked out how many stitches that was something like 1,300 stitches. Then I divided that by 112, which is the number of stitches in a normal row. I can't remember how many rows it was, say it was 11 rows. So I knew that I needed the equivalent of 11 regular rows of yarn of this KFS sock yarn to do the decreases. So I kept weighing my ball until I had just a bit more than that, and then I started the decreases, and that way I could make it as long as I wanted. Now, the nice thing about being a maths teacher is that's actually, I didn't have to sit there and add all of those numbers up, 104 plus 104 plus 96 plus 96. That's actually something that I teach my students. It's called an arithmetic sequence, and because you're reducing by the same number every round, and there's actually a little formula that you can use for adding it up without having to enter every number into the calculator. So anyway, which is, obviously that's nice for me. I love being able to use my maths in my knitting. And lots of talking already. I haven't even tried it on. So yep, so I've woven in the ends. I can feel the inside's just a little bit damp. So I just block it flat like that. And then halfway through blocking, I turn it over. But what I will do, I think now, is I will actually turn it inside out and block it again, because I can feel it's just a tiny bit damp on the inside. So I'll quickly try it on though, so you can see. Oh, it does feel damp against my forehead. Yeah, Yeah, but I love the color. It's so pretty. This would be a really good hat for skiing, because this is a double brim and then you fold it again. So that's 3 layers. You've got silk and mohair. So yeah, and I'm really happy that I managed to get out of 211 meters, the full hat, and I didn't run out of yarn, because that's always the nervousness of knitting something when you don't have access to any more yarn. What if I run out? So being able to I didn't really like that's how close to the wire I got. But yes, I was very happy that I was able to get it. And what I could have done is just cut out one of these decrease rows, like maybe instead of decreasing every round at 40 stitches, I could have done it at maybe 48 just to save a little bit of yarn. But it worked out and I'm really happy with it. And yeah, I really, really like it. So anyway, I'm going to take it off because I can feel it's a bit damp on here. So this is how I blocked it, like this, because this is the outside and then this folds up. But I'm going to turn it the other way now and just put it back on the bed with a ceiling fan over it and block it inside out. And just give it another day. It's summer here in Sydney. I forgot to mention I'm recording in Sydney, Australia. And so I'm not going to need this anytime soon, but I think I'll really enjoy it. And I do like this color. I'll enjoy wearing this hat when it is winter, but it'll have to be a pretty cold day for this one. Right, so that's my only finished object for the week. I will talk about what I'm wearing now, which is a friend from the vault, something I knit earlier. So this one actually isn't that old. This is a 2020 knit, and it's a PetiteKnit pattern. It's the first PetiteKnit pattern I ever made, and it's the no frills sweater. Let me see, I did forget to mention, sorry, I forgot to mention that I did a provisional cast on and I picked up the stitches and I did a video on that. So I'll just put a little link there. The provisional cast on is not in the pattern, but I just find it easier to do that rather than when I do the folded brim, trying to make sure I'm going in exactly the right column for every stitch that's on the needles. If you do a provisional cast on, you know exactly where you need to be. So sorry, back to the no frills sweater by PetiteKnit. This is the yarn that I used was Louie and Lola BFL nylon fingering and Mohair silk lace held together. Both were in the colorway Positivity. Now I have a little bit of each of them left. Let me talk a little bit about the pattern, then I'll talk about the yarn. So I knit the XS Smart size, which is the smallest size, which has a bust circumference of 39¼ inches, which would have been about 7 inches of positive ease for me. And I did want an oversized sweater, but it was starting to look really big. So I just dropped off the last 2 raglan increases, and it's turned out to be 37 inches. So that's 5 inches of positive ease. The gauge on the sweater was 21 stitches over 4 inches, and I got gauge. So just by dropping off those couple of raglan increases, the sleeves ended up a tiny bit smaller, but there's ease there. And I've got a little bit less positive ease. The only other thing that I did differently is that I did a twisted rib around the neckline. And in fact, all of the ends, I did a twisted rib. Yeah, so it's definitely really roomy. It's very comfortable. It has short rows built into the pattern. I didn't have to add them. They are in the pattern. That's probably the only kind of advanced-ish sort of skill, and you do them as you're doing the raglan increases. The neckline is fine for me. It's not too low at the back because of the short rows. It's raised the back up a little bit, and it's not too tight, up around my neck and choking me or anything. It's a really good fit. As I look at it, I think the sleeves might be a little bit short. I probably expected a little bit more growth. I had quite a lot of leftovers, and I made another whole project, which I'll show in a second when I talk about the yarn. But I still have this much of. This is the Biffle nylon fingering, and this is the Mohair. So I haven't weighed that, but I reckon with that I could easily get a few more rows. I wouldn't rip back the ribbing and add more here. I would just make the cuff a little bit longer. Like, it's not that big a deal. Maybe add 4 or 5 more rows, because you can sort of see as I move around, it just moves down my wrist a bit, and I do usually like things as I'm moving to finish closer to my actual, like that bone, I guess that bone around there, at a minimum, if not longer. So I wouldn't normally say I want to cuff that much longer, but honestly, I can't be bothered. And also ripping out mohair, it's not so much fun. So as I'm wearing it, but there's another reason why I actually don't wear this very often. I was super excited about it, about making it and starting it, and I absolutely loved the yarn. I'll put up a picture of the yarn like prior to winding it up. At least I think I have a picture of this one prior to the mohair before I wound it up. Maybe not this one. And I just love them both so much in the skein, and yet together, like, and obviously they're the same colorway, right? So, but I just feel like it's too much variegation for me. And I think this would have benefited for me and for what I like to wear. I would have preferred to have maybe knit the variegated, one or the other, right? Like a plain underneath with a variegated mohair, or the variegated underneath with a plain mohair. I just feel for me there's just too much happening here. Too many speckles. You know, you can have, for me, you can have too much of a good thing. And I think this is why I don't wear it very often, which is probably why I haven't gone back and lengthened the sleeves, because I'm like, I barely wear it. So, but I don't know, it's still like, it's not unwearable, right? It's just not the thing that I go for. And I have that many sweaters in my wardrobe that I'm gonna reach for one that just makes my heart sing. And this one doesn't make my heart sing. So I'm not really sure what to do with it. You know, like it would fit my daughter Mia, but I would have to lengthen the sleeves if she'd like it. I don't know, I could ask her. I'll show you what each yarn, because what I did with the leftovers was I need another project in it that I don't wear, and that's the Rocket Tee. I've already talked about this one, I think, in my 2022 knits video, which I'll link up there. But can you see here the Rocket Tee by, I think it's Tanis Lavallee, Tanis Fibre Arts. It's got like a section of just 4-ply and then a section of mohair, section of 4-ply, section of mohair. So it sort of creates this striped effect, but you can see just how much variegation there is in the fingering weight yarn, and still also quite a bit in the mohair. So yeah, like I don't know. I don't wear this one. I don't wear this one. It's a real shame, you know, it's obviously a lot of work and the yarn was not cheap. So what I might end up doing is pull out some of my knitwear and just ask my girls, I have 2 daughters, look, do you want to try these on, see if you'll wear them or not? If not, I have another think. It might need to. I think I've mentioned it before. I'm definitely going to go through my my wardrobe and see what's getting worn, what's not getting worn. Will I ever reach for it? Yeah, it's just sort of weird having something in your wardrobe that you don't wear, and like technically you could wear it, but then you never reach for it. So that's probably why I haven't bothered using this yarn to lengthen the sleeves. So anyway, I mean, it's not horrible. As I'm wearing it now, I think, oh, it's okay. Maybe it's just also the color doesn't, maybe I don't know that it does a lot for my complexion. Maybe it's a little bit, washes me out. Anyway, that's enough on this sweater though. Really good pattern, very straightforward, easy knit. It's a single, it's not a double fold collar like some of the PetiteKnit ones, which is good. Like I find them often a bit bulky, and I think it would be for this design. It's meant to be just a pretty straightforward. Yeah, anyway, that's enough on that pattern. I think that's the only thing that I wanted to mention. Yes. All right. Now I'm up to my works in progress. Right, my first work in progress is I've got one new work in progress because I did have one finished object, so I cast on one new work in progress, so I'm still at 6. My only new one is a new Sophie scarf. So I showed last week, I think it was last week, I got this Rowan Patina, which is a really unusual yarn. It's got massive yardage, 50 grams is 250 meters, and yet it knits up at a DK weight gauge just because of the fluff. It's got some sparkle in it. See the shimmer? I think you can see the shimmer there. So my mum is going overseas and she wanted some, just like for travel, another little Sophie scarf. So I made her this Sophie scarf, which she really liked, and she said it was a really good length, and this was sort of a good grey colour for her. But she asked for one that would go with a particular jumper, which had a pink in that jumper, it had a pink that was very similar to this. And so I showed her that ball and she was like, yep, thumbs up, because she likes a little bit of sparkle too and a bit of fluff. So we've got that in common. So I cast on another Sophie scarf, and you can see here, you can see that the stitch definition of this is, you know, really, sorry, I'll just show you first and stop talking because I'm covering the microphone when I do this. So can you see that this has really good stitch definition? This was Madelinetosh Tosh Merino DK, and this yarn is doesn't have very good stitch definition, but like that's not really what you're potentially after in this, right? You just want something that's kind of pretty and soft and nice around the neck to go with a jumper. So the one thing that I will say, so I'm using the recommended needle size 3.5 millimeters. And one of the reasons, because I bought this for the Charisma Charisma top, and I accidentally bought one too many balls. I thought I needed 5, but I only needed 4 because it has such an amazing yardage. And I think I'll only use, I think on this one I used 140 meters. So if this is 250 meters, I can still get this easily out of less than 1 ball and have a little bit extra for Charisma, just as wiggle room, quite a bit of wiggle room for that top when I do start making it. So, yep, one thing I will say, I've got my marker marking the side that I do the increases on. Normally I move that marker up every so often in terms of how often you have to do the repeat in the pattern. And normally I can really see very clearly when I put a marker on the edge, I can see how many rows I've done. It is quite difficult to see when I put a marker on here. It's harder, it's much harder to see. I can, but now this pattern's pretty forgiving. If you go one too many ridges and do an increase accidentally in the, one too far or one too close, no one's going to know, right? You wouldn't want to do it all the time, but if it happens here or there, it's not going to matter. As long as you do it on the correct side, which is why I've got the marker there. But one thing I do have is I have this little, like a little, what do you call it? Like a stitch counter. And it's pretty easy to just click when you hit the next. I like this one a little bit better than the ones where you turn, because it sort of, here I can just push a button. But still, and you can actually put that, I don't know where I got this. I think I was in like a goodie bag or something. Maybe when, you can put it on your finger. I don't bother with that. It's just on my desk. But yeah, I just started that this morning, and I've come, made a bit of progress. My mum's not going away for a little while, not till Easter, so I've got a bit of time for that. But I'm not sure, because it's quite fluffy. I'm not sure if I want that to be my walking and knitting. It might just be a bit too hot, like when I'm walking and if it's a bit hot and sticky, I probably wouldn't use this yarn. Walking knitting is probably better with the Skimmer Socks, I think. Right, so that's my first new project, my only new project. So I've got 5 more works in progress. Only a couple of them have actually had any progress, but they've had a bit of progress. So I showed last week that I started the Armour Sweater by Strick. Now, I think I was had only just split and maybe only made a little bit of progress under. So I've done now 7 inches down the body, and I got to the point where I just used the last of the Mohair. So I still had this is Armour Sweater by Strick. It's a test knit. I'm using Madelinetosh Dandelion. Madelinetosh Dandelion in paper, and Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in the colorway Oat. And I used a 3.5 millimeter needle for the collar, and then a 4 millimeter needle for the rest of the body. I'm following it so far exactly to pattern because it's a test knit, so I haven't changed anything. But what I did was I stopped doing the body. I still have this attached, but I thought, look, I'm going to block it to see, how does it grow in width? Does it grow in length? And also so I could start a sleeve and get a bit of an idea of how the sleeve grows in width and length. Particularly because for the sleeve decreases, I've mentioned before that my arm doesn't decrease very much until about here. So if I start the sleeve decreases where most patterns tell me to, I end up with it really tight around here, around my forearm, which is quite uncomfortable. And this pattern is meant to have some positive ease. So you don't want to have positive ease here and then skin tight sleeves. Like, oh, unless it's one of those ones where it's like really giant and then you've got the, you know, there's kind of like the Relax or the Boxy Sweater by Joji Locatelli. In that case, you do have this really giant sweater and then not tight, but fitted sleeves. Anyway, this is just a jumper, it's not a top. So I blocked it. I was also really interested to see what happened with the collar when I blocked it. Because for some people, including Anka's, the collar really stretched out quite a bit, so it was quite a tight funnel neck and it stretched out a bit. Mine didn't very much, and maybe that's because of the smaller needles. So, and it did not grow in length at all, but it did grow in width, which was good. Because before blocking, it was like my swatch. Before my swatch grew, so did this in width. Before blocking, it was 30 inches, so that would have been 2 inches of negative ease. After blocking, it's about 34 inches, so 2 inches of positive ease, which is what I wanted. I'm actually knitting the 37-inch size, so my gauge must be just a tiny bit smaller because I have done everything in the pattern, every increase. So my gauge must be a bit tighter, which is okay. 34 inches, it's still positive ease. So I'm going to try it on, but I won't keep it on for very long because it's quite warm here. Right, so, and I also have all these balls attached, which I don't love. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do in a minute. I'll just try it on. Okay, so let's see. That's just the tail. There'll be a little bit of clanking, hopefully not too much. I've put a towel down on my table. That seems to make quite a difference. If I've got a towel, if something hits the table, it sort of softens it so it's not quite so noisy. Right, so I'm just going to quickly put my hair up so you can see how the neck looks. You can see that it did come out. Actually, I'll put a picture of myself pre-blocking, and then this is post-blocking. So I don't know if you can tell. I mean, I have my hair down in that photo, but it's come out a little bit, but it's not out and down. It really is still quite, what I would say, a structured funnel collar, and I really like it. I think it's really, really nice. You can probably see in my increases I wasn't keeping quite as much tension there as I would have liked at the beginning, so I'm just going to duplicate stitch over those two spots. Other than that, I'm happy with, and I probably have something similar on. It's not going to take very long to do that. Duplicate stitch covers over a multitude of sins. If it's just like a little loose stitch like that, it's amazing. No one would ever notice, and it just covers up something like that. You definitely don't need to rip back that kind of thing where something was just a little bit loosey-goosey. Right, so it did not grow at all coming down. It's still 7 inches. These are pretty high-waisted jeans. I'm not sure how long I want it to go. I haven't decided, but I think what I'm going to do, because I have stuff attached everywhere, so this is attached to the sleeve, this is attached to the body, because this is 2 balls, I'm going to finish the first sleeve. There's enough here, like in the body, that I can decide, like finish the first sleeve, get that one done. That always makes me quite happy too. For the number one, for the test knit, I need to have the yoke and one sleeve done, which, great, the yoke's done. I just need to finish one sleeve. So that means that, you know, in case something comes up with my work or family or whatever, at least that part is finished. So that's tick number 1 for doing the sleeve first. Another one is just to get the balls off here. The other thing is to just, for me, work out in the sleeves how I want to do the decreases. So I'm at the point now where I would be doing the first sleeve decrease, and then you do it consistently at a regular spacing throughout the pattern. But I can tell there, like that's 10 inches, which is almost maybe just no ease, maybe just a smidge of positive ease, just a smidge. And I just know, like my arm doesn't really decrease until about here. So I suspect what I'm going to do is I might decrease down to the final stitch count, but I won't start that until here, and I'll just do it in a a more compressed fashion. So I reckon I'm going to do at least until past the elbow. There'll be a bit of trying this on as I go. Yeah, so, but I love it. I think it's a really beautiful, the pattern's really well written. The test knit group are really lovely and really encouraging. There's been some beautiful sweaters over there. That's actually a completely public forum, like anyone, it's not like a private one where no one can see it. Anyone can go in on the Anka Strix group on Ravelry and take a look at the testnet. You can see people's progress as they're going. And yeah, I'm really, I think obviously I've got the nice, you know, keep the back of my neck warm. I was a little bit worried that I'd end up with this little bubble thing here, but that doesn't seem to be happening actually, as I do have my collarbones here, so you see like a little bit of a bump, but that's my body. It's like I can't get rid of my collarbones. Yeah, and I think that's going to be, I really like that neckline. I think that's a really nice, I don't have many sweaters with that kind of neckline, and yeah, so that's my Armour sweater by Anka Strick. I don't think I have anything else to say about that one. The only other work in progress that I have that I've actually made any progress on is my half and half wrap. And let me see, do I have the little, I keep losing the little square that has both colours in it. I'll put a picture of both colours up there so you can see. So this is, so my third work in progress is, sorry, I'm trying to like move this out of the way, but I'm forgetting that I'm actually attached to it. Actually, maybe I'll take it off because it is warm. Right. And you can see it comes off really easily, no problem. Like the neckline is totally fine to get off my head. I'm just going to be a little careful about how I put it so that the balls don't all get tangled. Right. Okay. Third work in progress is the half and half wrap. This is kind of like, this is my super happy, I don't have to think at all knit, and I'm so happy to have it on the needles. I have 3 skeins each of this Purl Soho linen quill. This is Bird's Egg Blue, and the poppy one I will put a picture up of, unless I have one here. No, I don't. Okay, no, I'll put a picture of the poppy, which is the second colour. And how much progress did I make? I've been kind of, this is really nice actually, I've been just keeping track each week, how much progress have I made on it. I think I misspoke last week. I said maybe I'd knit 16 grams, but I think I'd actually knit 24 grams. And I've knit 24 grams again this week. So this marker, I've got stoppers to stop it from flying off the needles. The yarn's really lovely and squishy, and Garter is just so nice and squishy. I'm really enjoying knitting it. So I'm knitting it on the recommended needle size, which is a 3.25 millimeter, and this is actually the recommended yarn for the pattern. That marker there is where I was last week, and you can see here that marker is where I'm where the short rows are occurring, and so you can see that's how much I've made from progress I've made from the beginning, and that marker is just going to move along, you know, bit by bit to the other end. And then when I get to the end of the light blue, then I'll start the poppy. So how much did I'm just seeing how much I used. I'm down to 38 grams on the ball. It was 62 last week, so I've knit 24 grams, and I'm at 36 ridges, and last time I was at 22. So yeah, so that's coming out. This is just delightfully easy to knit. It's really nice comfort knitting. Even other things that I'm making that seem like a lot of stockinette, like even the, you know, this hat or the Skimmer Socks or whatever, at some point something changes, right? Whereas I'm going to be like 2.5 balls in, like 1,000 meters in before anything changes, right? So that's quite nice about the half and half wrap, and I am really excited about having it finished. I think it will be a really lovely project, and I'm happy to have a large stockinette, large garter simple project on the needles. Right, so that's the half and half wrap. That's a free pattern by Purl Soho. I am slipping the first stitch knitwise, so that's my edge, and so it's just a tiny bit tighter than it would be, but I don't have like the I-cord column that some people have chosen to do, which is totally fine. I was like, I wanted to keep it totally like no thinking at all. And I'm doing wrap and turn short rows because I actually really like how they turned out in my swatch. I do recommend when you are going to start something this big, it is really worth doing a swatch that you like the color, that you're comfortable with like how it's knitting up, that you're comfortable with your edging, you're comfortable with your short rows. Like because you start with 200, this is a large 260 stitches on the needles, you don't want to find out after you've knit like you know, 100 meters of yarn, but made very little progress, that you're actually not that happy with it. Right, so that's my third work in progress. My last 3 works in progress, I've made pretty much no, well, 2 of them, no progress at all. So I'll just show you really quickly. That's the Stockholm Slipover. I'm using Rowan Felted Tweed DK in Scree, Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in Soft Blue. I think what I'm going to do, because I find I'm going to be more inspired and excited to knit on this if I have finished the edges. So I think what I'm going to do is finish the, and also it makes me feel more confident when I knit down a project if I know this all worked. Because if I do all the rest of this and I'm like, I actually need to rip all the way back and change something, or, you know, I don't think that's going to happen. But I'll also just enjoy it better. Like when I try it on, I'll go, oh, look at that, because it'll all be finished instead of things hanging off it everywhere. I'll try it on quickly though. You can see it looks really oversized, which it is meant to be. What size am I making? I'm making the smallest size. I'm using 4.5mm needles. My gauge is 19 stitches, so it is a fast knit, but I think when I get some time, because obviously the finishing stuff, that's when I need actually to think, whereas when I'm just knitting the body, I can do that when I don't need to think, because at the moment there's no way, there's not any, and I'm not doing any waist shaping. So I think when I do get some time, maybe on the weekend, I will do the sleeves and the neckline, get that out of the way. Of course, then I have to deal with like balls all over the place, but I think I'll be happier. And it's not like it's portable when I'm doing those anyway. I'm going to be sitting at home, you know, like carefully picking up the stitches, doing the few rows that are needed for the ribbing, and then binding off, trying it on. So if I'm doing this, it's not portable anyway, so what does it matter if I have yarn attached? So that's the Stockholm Slipover by PetiteKnit. I think that will be a nice wardrobe staple over a nice collared white shirt in winter. And the number 5, I think this is, I'm not going to try this on because it's a little bit dodgy. I tried it on last week. I haven't actually made any progress. This is the, it's inside out. This is the Camisole number 4 by My Favorite Things. I'm using Knitting for Olive, Pure Silk in, what's it called? Raspberry Pink. And I did say last week I was going to try and do the straps, and I didn't, but maybe this weekend, we'll see. I'll see how much time I have. I have quite a lot of work to do. So if I get time, that will be, I will at least start the straps, and then I'll, even if I don't finish them, and maybe just wind off some yarn and leave those while I finish. I don't know. I had some good suggestions in the comments from people and I have heard this before. People have said either they've done it or they've suggested it. Hang it for, like, do the straps, attach it, sort of hang it for a while, see if you're happy with where it ends up. So I think I'll probably do that. But obviously as the weight gets heavier, it'll stretch more. Anyway, I'm liking it. I think and I need to hurry up and finish this so I can wear it. Although it's February the 14th today, so mid-February. We've still got at least another month of hot weather. So yep, so that's my project number 5. No progress in the last week, but I think it is actually a pretty quick knit if you actually knit on it. And I've got that in the little bag that Fee sent me when she sent me the yarn. This is really nice. I'm using that. And my last work in progress is the Skimmer Socks. All I did was weave in the ends on this one. That's all I've done so far. But that's something, right? Weaving in ends, that's important. So that one actually looks nice and tidy. And this one, I'm still up to the gusset increases. So I'm planning on going for a walk this afternoon. So I should get some progress on that this afternoon. And that is 3 mums sock yarn, 2.25mm needles. And then that's just some leftover Vespa sock yarn for the trim because I didn't have quite enough of this. So they are my 6 works in progress. I do want to get my works down a little bit, but I need to finish that. Like anyway, it doesn't matter. That's not my focus right now. Like, they get done when they get done. But I'm trying not to cast on too many new things. That scarf is just because I definitely want to get that done for my mum before she goes away. And I would like to ask, like she was wearing some socks when we were at church on Sunday. She was wearing some of those little sockets and they were falling down her shoes. And so I asked her if she'd like some Skimmer Socks. She didn't confirm, so I need to check with her. I'd like to make my mum a pair of these to take away with her. I'm not sure if that might be too thick for her shoes. My mum has tiny feet, like super, I mean, these don't take much yarn anyway, but my mum has really small feet, so it would be a very quick knit. And if she does, I'll make that my next pair of Skimmer Socks. So I'll ask her if she'd like to try a pair. And if they're too big for those shoes, there might be some other ones that they work for. Anyway, that's it for my works in progress. Purchases. I have bought nothing this week. Big thumbs up. I do plan to make something. A really lovely viewer, Amanda, who lives in the UK, is coming to Australia. You know how I bought the wrong... Anyway, if you were here last week, I bought the wrong colour red for Avena, and I won't bother grabbing it now. But anyway, she's lives in the UK. She's visiting, I think, her daughter in Adelaide next month, and she said if I wanted to order something from the wool factory, like the right colour, and have it sent to her, she would bring it with her and send it from Australia, because the shipping is £17, which is like $32, $32 Australian, and I don't want to spend $32 Australian for one ball of yarn that costs £2. So I could do that, and I'd probably try a couple, like maybe something a little bit fancy. That they have free UK shipping for £30. So, and Amanda said that would be okay if so I haven't bought anything yet, but if I do, again, I'll mention it. I'll mention that I bought it, but I'll show it when it actually comes, because I don't think she's coming for another month. So anyway, I'm not in any rush for that, but it would be nice. And it was a really lovely thing so if you're watching, Amanda, thank you so much. I definitely will take you up on it. I just need to take a look. I think I was having a look at the Rowan, because the Rowan, some kind of cashmere mix is, so the balls are only like 25 grams, so hopefully they wouldn't be too much for Amanda to bring, and I thought it might be a nice chance to try something like that while it's on sale. Anyway, but I haven't actually bought anything yet, just thinking about it. What has caught my eye? Actually, nothing this week. I just haven't, I've been so busy that I haven't really even been on social media. I've barely watched any podcasts, just no time. So if you're not exposing yourself to anything to get inspired, then you're not going to see anything new. So nothing new for what has caught my eye. Plans. I don't plan to cast on anything new. I didn't plan to cast on anything new last week, but then obviously I'd like to make this scarf for my mum, so that was a little bonus one. So I think for this week, I just want to get that first sleeve of armour done. That's kind of my only actual plan of something I actually want to do. And if I have time on the weekend to do the straps for cami number 4 and the neckline for the Stockholm slipover, it'd be nice to get that done. So yeah, I'll try for that this Saturday when I have a little bit of extra time. So last week I went to a concert where my daughter Mia was a backup singer, and that was really fun actually. My husband and I went, and her grandparents were there and some of their friends, and it was a late night, because even though it started at 8, we got there at 7 to make sure we could get some space where we could sit. It started at 8, but they didn't come on until maybe 9:15. But it was still it was fun. It was nice to be out. It was nice to see her grandparents, who I haven't seen in a while. And yeah, it wasn't crazy late. It was like 10:30 when we left. So yeah, but that was really cool. And what else? Oh, and the only other thing that I've done besides sort of work and going to church and the usual activities and things is this morning it just worked out perfectly. Wednesdays are my day off, and Kim and Jonna did a Petite knit along a little while ago, and they did a show and tell Zoom this morning. So it turned out to be, so it was their Tuesday afternoon, my Wednesday morning at 8:30. So it worked perfectly. I was able to come and sit, and everyone was showing their Petite knit patterns that they'd made. And look, when I say I hadn't been exposed to things I was inspired by, I was definitely inspired by a lot of everyone's projects, but a lot of them are ones that I've already talked about. Like there was a beautiful Moby sweater, there was a beautiful, what's the other one with the stripes? I'll put it in the down bar, I can't remember the name of it. There was a really lovely champagne cardigan, some anchor summer shirts, so nothing kind of new that I haven't mentioned before, and obviously I've seen a lot of PetiteKnit patterns. Somebody did mention the hipster, a couple of people mentioned the hipster hat, so I will, and that being quite a cool pattern. I don't know how different that is from the Manhattan tee, but I will take a look at that one. So I guess there's one, what has caught my eye, I guess, that's different from something I've already mentioned. That's kind of it for personal stuff. It's been really busy at work. So I'll just, I'm trying to sort of wrap it up. Coming up, I'm actually going to lunch with Mia's grandma Jenny later today. So when I finish recording, I'm going to drive in towards the city and have lunch with her. So we didn't really get to catch up that much when obviously it's a concert, it's really loud. And so yeah, I just like having some time catching up with her and hearing about all her other grandkids and what's going on in her life. So that's today. I'm going on for a walk with my friend Amy on Saturday. I think 2 of her daughters are going to Melbourne to see Taylor Swift with her husband on the weekend. So I'll be very interested to hear how that goes. But anyway, I'm going to go for a walk with her on Saturday. I think that's, and the only other big thing that my husband and I have coming up on Tuesday night, Tuesday next week, Tuesday the 20th, we're going to see the Goo Goo Dolls and Matchbox 20. So I think it's actually Matchbox 20 that are whatever the main band, the lead, whatever, I don't know what you call it when they're the main one. And the Goo Goo Dolls are supporting, but it's actually the Goo Goo Dolls that I'm going to see. I love Iris and I love a lot of their, I really enjoy their music. It's sort of my vintage. So we're doing that on Tuesday night, so that should be fun. And the other thing, I think I mentioned this last week, but the Knitters Guild retreat that's coming up on the 2nd to the 4th of August, they've sent me an email because I'm going to teach a little mini class there on German short rows. So I've just got to get back to them with do people, what do they need to bring, what the homework is, but that is coming up. So it's not, I guess it's a little while away, it's in August, but it's, and I won't mention who the guest, I think I did mention it last week because I said how the last one I went to, Nora Gorn, was there. They have a guest teacher from overseas, from the US. She's a very experienced knitter. She's done a lot of online classes and she teaches a lot of classes. I won't mention who it is because I'm not sure if that's public knowledge yet, but she's awesome and I'm really excited to be going on that retreat. And I've actually taken classes with her before in Sydney. And she was awesome. So yeah, that's it. That's sort of coming up for me. It's like I'm starting to feel a little, I'm trying not to, but I'm starting to feel a little bit overwhelmed with work. So, and there is, like I was saying before with the color, you can sometimes have too much of a good thing. And I have to I can't say yes to everything, even if they're good things. So I have to sort of just slow myself down a little bit. Because otherwise I don't have time to do the things that, like even connection things, like catch up with people and stuff. So, right, I'm going to finish that now on the spirit of just, I haven't done any other reading or I have started reading a little bit more of Never Let Me Go because I didn't finish that. And my son and I are reading a chapter a day each. And I think he's a couple of chapters ahead of me because he's been doing his homework and I haven't. So I do really want to read that. So I just want to try to commit to, it's like maybe 12 pages in a chapter. It's not very many pages. So I can do a chapter a day. Yes. Anyway, I'm going to go now and I will see you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.